Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SoundWave Studios and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with a terrific gentleman who's an elected violinist, guitarist for Kansas, and lead singer violinist for Stratospheerius, considered the Jimi Hendrix of the violin by critics, and also worked with The Who, Bruce Springsteen, Sheryl Crow, and also 50 Cent, Richie Blackmore, Smokey Robinson, Les Paul, and more. He performed with newer symphonies and also founded the Grand Canyon School of Life, and also has a new release, or one of them, One Foot in the Next World from Behind the Curtain, which is live at ProgStock, and also his current release, we just got word, A Game of Chicken. What's that about? I guess we're going to find out just 1 minute. He also had a number of amazing music out there. Live, ladies and gentlemen, for the Plus Studios, currently on tour in Wausau, Wisconsin, and he's just going through. He started with Kansas, elected violinist, guitarist, also lead singer, violinist for Stratospheerius, considered the Jimi Hendrix of the violin world. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Joe Deninzon. Joe, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
What's going on, Mike? Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's great to have you on. It's great to have you on board, Joe, and got to listen to music. You're elected violinist, guitarist for Kansas, and also lead singer and violinist for Stratospheerius. And you also have one of your recent releases, One Foot in the Next World from Behind the Curtain, live at ProgStock. And we just got word that you'll be talking about Game of Chicken. And what is that about? We're going to find out. You also had Guilty of Innocence, Headspace, The Next World, and more. You performed numerous symphonies and founded Grand Canyon School of Life, and also considered you worked with The Who, Bruce Springsteen, and more. Before getting all that, Joe, tell us how I first got started.
Well, it's Grand Canyon School of Rock, actually, not School of Life.
That is, okay. All right.
One little correction. I can talk about that later or now, whatever.
That's fine. Just tell us how I first got started.
Well, that particular gig, it's funny, I was in college doing my master's at Manhattan School of Music and hungry for work. This was late 90s, and I met this guy, Robert Bonfiglio. He's a harmonica player, and he co-founded the Grand Canyon Music Festival. So I've been coming there almost every year, 21 years, and I co-founded a School of Rock program for local kids where we go in and we coach them and we form a band and we do a concert. We teach them how to play. And this is the first year in a long time I'm going to be skipping that festival because I'm touring with Kansas now. So it was one of the many things you mentioned, but that's been a passion project of mine because I love to teach and, work with kids. That's one of my things I love to do. So, yeah. So anyway,
and of course, we'll get to more of that later. And how did you first get started? Let's just go way back, Machine Sherman, way back.
Well, I come from a family of musicians, classical musicians. My father's a violinist, just retired from 44 years in the Cleveland Orchestra. My mother's a pianist. They run a music school out of their house. We came from Russia in the 70s. I was given a violin when I was 5 and taught to play by my dad and other teachers. And music was always just kind of a natural part of my life. And I always knew I wanted to be a musician. So eventually I really fell in love. When we came to the States, I fell in love with rock and roll and pop culture and got into other styles of music outside of classical, jazz and rock and roll, hard rock, Led Zeppelin, Kansas, of course, and Queen, and later Miles Davis. And I learned to improvise on the violin. I also learned guitar and bass, and I was always writing songs since age 12. So I kind of veered, I took a left turn from my parents' classical upbringing and kind of marched to my own drummer, so to speak. To make a very long story short, so I had my classical training on violin, but I was involved in a lot of different stuff, playing in bands, writing songs, learning to improvise. And then when I went to college, I studied jazz, and I also kept my classical studies going on the violin. So
that's rather interesting. And what was that one precise moment that simply influenced you into what you're doing for the rest of your career?
There were a few moments, one of which, I recall there was a local guy, a celebrity named Michael Stanley. Have you heard of Michael Stanley?
No, but I'd love to hear about it.
Michael Stanley was he was like Bob Seger in Cleveland, huge in where I was growing up, in the Northeast Ohio. He had broken attendance records at the Ridgefield Coliseum and at Blossom Music Center, had a few minor hits, became a local radio personality and TV personality, and kept playing concerts with his band, but never really broke huge in this, worldwide. But, so his daughters went to my high school, and he went to a concert and heard me play violin and invited me to sit in with his band on violin when I was 16. And that was the first time I played something outside of classical music on the violin. And he kind of opened that door for me. And that was a big pivotal moment. And he passed away a few years ago from cancer, but I'm always grateful to him. I don't think he ever realized that, how big of an influence he played in my life from that little opportunity he gave me, back when I was 16. So that was one moment that comes to mind,
And also, you mentioned you mentioned all the musicians that you had just rattled off. How about some of your other favorites and influences?
Well, I had so many, you mean like famous artists that I listened to that were influential, or people in my life?
Yeah, who you listen to, influential, and also, other musicians, other artists, and also other singers, also other composers, classical and jazz and just about everything, kind of going like, a little bit further in.
That's a loaded question. I could talk forever, but I mean, musically, I was influenced by artists like Frank Zappa, Steve Vai, Mahavishnu Orchestra, Led Zeppelin, Extreme, John McLaughlin, Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Igor Stravinsky, Dmitri Shostakovich, Jean-Luc Ponty. I could go on and on. I mean, I'm into a lot of, hard rock, fusion, jazz, progressive rock. That's kind of the music I write. And on a personal note, I had a lot of mentors. One of my mentors was a local Cleveland guitarist named Al Krassel, who was a jazz guitarist who kind of took me under his wing and taught me a lot of stuff about jazz when I was in high school. And he was teaching me mostly guitar and bass, but I took a lot of what I learned on those instruments and transferred it to violin. So, and and I started my band Stratospheerius 22 years ago when I was trying to write music. I moved to New York, and I had a fusion CD that I recorded, and looking for a band to play that music live with, and started working in more vocal songs into that blend, and it kind of morphed into Stratospheerius, which is kind of my brainchild and my passion project, and continue. We just put out a new live album, and we're finishing a studio album due out next year.
And we'll certainly talk about those, especially again with Chicken live at ProgStock and a lot more. And of course, your experience with cancers, to talk about that with Joe Deninzon. But first, you listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews. In Eve 11 endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes, Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com and our 40 podcast platforms, heard in 100 countries, including Facebook, Spotify, Apple Music, iHeart, BitChute, Rumble, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. Take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com, check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, and for more great gift ideas like Missing, Once and Wrinkles, T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more, Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia, and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with electric violinist, guitarist for Kansas, and the lead singer for violinist for Stratospheerius, Joe Deninzon, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we continue on with work with Stratospheerius, you play for Kansas. And how did you first get involved with Kansas playing violin?
Well, I was friends with Tom Brislin, their keyboard player, musical director who joined the band in 2018. And a few months back, they were having their violinist David Ragsdale had some health issues, so they asked me to learn the music and kind of stand by in case he couldn't do the tour. What happened was his health kind of took a downward turn, and I was asked to step in and join the band. In a nutshell, that's what happened. And I've known Tom for many years in the progressive rock scene, and I've seen his band, he's seen my band, and kind of came together this way.
That is really interesting too. And of course, you did some work with Stratospheerius, and you have Guilty of Innocence, Headspace, The Next World, and also some other singles. I mean, it's Exhausted, Behind the Curtain, Release, Game of Chicken. Well, that's the new one we're going to talk about. We'll get that later. Oh, Ghosts and More, Take Your Medicine. Tell us more about those. What inspired you to write them?
Well, a lot of things inspire me to write. Personal relationships, observations about the world. Politics. Social commentary. I try to keep it kind of cryptic and let people make up their own minds what the songs mean to them. I don't like to be blatant with my messages. But a song like Game of Chicken is kind of based on a game where both parties are kind of doomed to lose. And it's a commentary on kind of us arguing with each other, screaming over each other on social media and not listening to each other in society, and kind of on a collision course, because we can't solve problems because we're always kind of screaming at each other. And that's kind of the gist of the song. It was released as a studio release on our last album in 2017. And this was a live version on Behind the Curtain, the new live album, which has a really cool violin guitar battle at the end, which kind of symbolizes the battle that the song is talking about. So it all ties together. I'm proud of that one. That was a good performance, and we captured it, and that was released as our first single off of the new live record. So, yeah.
That is really interesting as well, too. You're considered the Jimi Hendrix of the violin world by critics, and you have the pleasure of working with The Who, Bruce Springsteen, Sheryl Crow, 50 Cent, Richie Blackmore, Smokey Robinson, Les Paul, and more. And what was it like working with those guys? And who's your favorite to play with?
I can't think of it. That's a lot. It was great working with all those guys. I don't really have a favorite. They were all interesting and different experiences. Les Paul was, I sat in with him on his old Monday night show at the Iridium back in 2003. We got to play Sweet Georgia Brown together, and that was a real treat. He was a great performer and musician, and really funny and sharp until his last days. Richie Blackmore was cool. I got to record on his album Ghost of a Rose for Blackmore's Night, which came out in 2005. Almost got to tour with him, but they were looking for someone who plays a lot of different recorders, which is not something I do. The Who was an orchestra that I was a part of. I played a bunch of shows with them. Springsteen as well was a string section. And I'm a huge Springsteen fan growing up. He was very generous and gracious and spontaneous. And, that was a thrill. I was a lifelong diehard fan of his. So I've been fortunate. It's Peter Criss from Kiss. His music director engineered and mixed our last studio album. I got to play Beth with him, with the string quartet, which was cool. Very gracious guy. So these are all heroes of mine growing up. So it was really a thrill and an honor to share the stage with them. It's really, life is funny. You never know what you're going to end up doing. And I can look back and be grateful for a lot of amazing experiences with people that I grew up admiring. So, yeah.
And also you have like, I have your own too, like One Foot in the Next World as well too. And, just a bit about that. If there's other material you want to talk about, feel free to do so.
One Foot in the Next World is the closing number on our live CD, DVD, Behind the Curtain. And that's a song that's been a staple in our set list for a long, long time. It was released in 2012 originally on an album called The Next World. And it's a big show closer. And this was on the video. I play with my nose. I do a solo with my nose.
Solo with your nose? Really? I've never heard anyone do that with their nose.
So yeah, that's something it's a shtick. I like shtick. So anyway, that could be found on the. So let me talk a little bit about the new release since we're on the subject. So Stratospheerius, my band of many years, just released a double live CD, DVD, Blu-ray, 4-disc box set. Why we did that in 2023 is anybody's guess, but we did put it out, and it's a fun project. It's from 2 performances at the ProgStock Festival in New Jersey from 2019 and 2021. And people still buy CDs and DVDs, especially older progressive rock fans still love physical products. And I love putting them out. I don't want to just release something digitally. It's available digitally, but I like having the physical product. So, we're really proud of this release. It captures the band in a great, with a great vibe and a great, beautiful theater with a wonderful audience, and we're firing on all cylinders. So I'm very proud of it. And you can order it on joedviolin.com or stratosband.com. STRATOS band.com.
Mm-hmm. And you also have another video which also came out as well too, which is Spain. That's another one.
That was also taken from the live DVD. When we were doing the 2021 show, Rachel Flowers played a solo set before we went on, and Alex Skolnick, guitarist from Testament, played after us with bass player from Brand X. I'm totally spacing out here. Help me out.
Brand X, that's familiar. I think that was a Phil Collins somehow inspired. He was involved. He was a drummer, and I'm trying to think.
Percy Jones. Percy Jones.
That's the guy. I was going to say Leland Sklar, but I was a little off base.
Not Leland Sklar.
Yeah.
So another great bass player. So anyway, Alex Skolnick was in the band many, many years ago. We're old friends, and Rachel had collaborated with us as well. So I thought, let's do something spontaneous with Rachel and Alex as a trio, like a stripped down jazz thing. And we had not rehearsed, and Alex and Rachel had never met. Rachel Flowers is a blind multi-instrumentalist who's a genius, who plays 10 different instruments, engineers her own CDs, and her music, writes and arranges. She's a really brilliant musician. So we decided, we all know the song Spain. Let's just knock it out. So we got on stage with no rehearsal and just knocked it out. And it was a magical moment. It was in the middle of the Stratospheerius set. And although Stratospheerius is not a jazz band, we have, a lot of us have jazz backgrounds, and this kind of, we couldn't leave it off the CD because it just came out so well. And it was one of those magical moments that just happens, So, yeah.
And it does sound like it as well too. And of course, in the meantime, where can we find all your music at?
The websites I just mentioned, joedviolin.com and stratosband.com, STRATOS band.com. And when you go there, there's links to all our social media sites as well, but that's kind of a one-stop shop.
Okay.
Both of those websites.
Okay, we'll certainly check that out as well too. What's coming up for Joe Deninzon and Stratospheerius? We'll find out just 1 minute. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios, and brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Mia Molson's The Missing. We'll be back with elective violinist and guitarist for Kansas and lead singer violinist for Stratospheerius, Joe Deninzon. After this time on, we're back with the amazing, multi-talented Joe Deninzon here on the Mike Wagner Show, and he was released live at ProgStock, Game of Chicken, One Foot in the Next World, and more. And also another thing too, what else can we expect in 2023 and beyond?
Well, we're finishing a new studio record. We're mixing the last 2 songs. Also something we've been working on for a long time. So we want to release it next year. And same lineup, same band from the live DVD. And I'm continuing to tour with Kansas. We have dates booked into next May for the 50th anniversary tour. And in between Kansas shows, I'm going to be playing Stratospheerius shows as well and doing other projects. So, a lot of activity. Just, check my website and social media. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and you'll know what's going on.
Okay, we'll certainly do that as well too. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
I can't think of one. There's been many. So I'd have to really think about that. There's not one biggest. I think it's a combination of all the teachers I had, all the friends that I've had, and colleagues, and all the great musicians that I've grown up listening to. So I'll just leave it there.
That's certainly
You
a
know?
good answer as well. What's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
You know, don't apologize for what you do. Just follow your heart and be true to yourself, and people will vibe off of that, and you'll find your people, you'll find your audience and your friends that way. Don't
Mm-hmm.
try to be something you're not. You know.
Mm-hmm. And that's true as well too. Too many people on social media doing that, and they're trying to play a game of chickens, like who can drown each other out. So
Yeah, yeah, sort of like that. Yeah,
okay.
I think yeah, from an artistic point of view, just follow your heart. You know, even if what you're doing might not seem to be the trendiest thing right now, there's always people that'll love you if you keep it real. You know.
Mm-hmm. And that's certainly a
Yeah.
good point as well too. So we're with the amazing elective violinist, guitarist, and also lead singer for Stratospheerius Joe Deninzon here on the Mike Wagner Show. Joe, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Live have you back. Once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works?
JoeDViolin.com. That's the best place, and you'll find everything there.
And
Yeah.
what about for Stratospheerius?
Stratosband.com.
Okay.
But I think if you go to my website, you'll find links to everything, including Stratospheerius. So,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll certainly check that out. Once again, Joe, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Live have you back. Wish you all the best. And Joe, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
All the best to you. Thanks, Mike.